Hello, guys, and welcome to the Cardboard Box End of Year Review. 2021 happened. It was a year.
It's been a year, all right. Yeah.
Say what you like about it, but it was definitely 12 months. And it wasn't quite the dumpster fire that 2020 was, but it was fighting for its
up
spot.
There, man.
Yeah. It's a competitor.
Strong silver medal.
I'm here with Sean and Steve, and we're going to look back on some of the bigger gaming news stories of the year, and also talk about the top 5 games we played this year. And knowing us and the fact that we're very behind the times, most of these games won't have come out this year. I'm pretty sure one of Steve's is actually the original version of Pong, but we'll get into that later.
Have you played Super Mario? This blazing new technology? Fantastic stuff.
So let's just get into it. Guys, 2021, what even happened? I'd say one of the biggest things, and this is something that
Why did you ask the question and then start talking?
It was a rhetorical question. It was a question mark, ...
Yeah.
So the biggest thing, and obviously this is a symptom of 2020 as well, is that a lot of games were delayed. So the Game Award announcements came out a few weeks ago, and a lot of people were saying, wow, there wasn't really a lot of huge games. Usually there's a couple of front runners which you think will win Game of the Year, but this year it's a bit odd. There's some cool games, but a lot of the heavy hitters that were meant to drop either last year or this year got pushed back a lot. So Halo Infinite obviously got pushed back a whole year. Horizon Forbidden West, Dying Light 2, Overwatch 2, God of War Ragnarok, all of these got pushed back. And I don't know if you saw, but there was a Twitter thread by someone who put up all the do you know the way developers release an image with text on it, like the Cyberpunk ones with the yellow background where they announce a delay? And he had no joke, probably 20 to 30 ones from different developers announcing different delays, all with their different fonts and backgrounds and shit like that.
I mean, ultimately, though, I think it's, and we're probably going to talk about it as well, but, it's better to delay it if it needs more time.
100%.
It sucks. And like you said, a lot of the reasons have been because of home working due to COVID and stuff like that. But I think nowadays, especially, fans are much more accepting and stuff. If you need to delay a game to make sure it's finished when it comes out, then it's grand. It sucks when it's a last minute thing, but I'd rather the game be finished than you try cash in on Christmas time or something. You know?
Yeah, and especially since there's been such a renewed focus on the crunch in the industry, I guess, and less than great working conditions to do it, working hours and overtime, etc. So I don't know, the positive side of my brain would hope that if they do delay these games, it means that they get more time and they don't have to crunch
but
as much.
But it's nearly always there's more crunch.
Yeah, that's unfortunately the statistics do say that it just elongates the amount of crunch time they have to do.
Yeah, totally.
You know, it's funny actually when you said we're going to talk about game delays, and I realize now that I pay so little attention to those that I realize now I'm drawing a bit of a blank on games that were obviously the ones you said. I think Halo is the only one that stood out to me.
The biggest one, yeah. I'd say.
That's the biggest one, obviously. But more than anything, it's the games that didn't get delayed are kind of jumping out to me more than anything else. Because some of them, one game I was fully expecting to get delayed was Elden Ring, but surprisingly still on schedule, I think.
I got pushed back a little bit, but because I think it was... I might be incorrect, but I think it was meant to release this year, but it got pushed to early next year or something like that.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
Late this year, but it's only a delay of a month, really, that they did for extra polish, and they did a network test recently, so maybe they're there's some little issues that we have to figure out.
I wonder, has it become a thing now in the industry that so many games get delayed? Because I'm sure even just a few years ago, it would have been this is our release date. We have to make it or something, and it would have been such a big deal to delay the game. But nowadays, I wonder, are people just fuck it, we'll just delay it? It's more casual.
I think
is that just Corona mentality? Can you guys remember what it was like before Corona? Because I legitimately can't. Was there this many delays before?
Man, the more I hear about this Corona guy, the less I like him, to be honest. I think it was a bad idea, to be honest. Go back to the drawing board. scientists. But no, I think there is some truth in what you're saying, Sean, because especially nowadays when they don't have to tie it to a physical release necessarily. A lot of big AAA games obviously do have a day one physical release, but some games don't necessarily have to, so you could delay it indefinitely. The only worry about that is if they have a marketing push and that all has to be coordinated like months in advance towards a specific date.
But just on physical releases, what we're seeing now as well is that physical releases get delayed, but digital versions will come out on release day. And then it was like, physical edition later this year, and that's usually because they need to patch the game a load on day one. So they're like, we'll put the disc out later when it can be playable, basically. Do you know?
Even at that though, the disc version, you normally need to download a huge patch to play the thing. So like, why did I even bother buying this on disc?
It's terrible,
The interesting thing about the list though is a lot of them are because of COVID, the delays. But Halo Infinite, I don't think really was COVID. I think that was a quality thing.
Definitely.
And it was probably like, I think we talked last year about the fact that it was a big dent for Microsoft to lose their flagship title when they were launching a new console. But probably in the long run, it was the correct decision because they want to get Halo right, and all the previews and everything I've heard about the new updated version of Halo Infinite seems to be positive. So going back to the drawing board and giving the developers that extra time to, recalibrate and refocus probably was the right decision in this case.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, the when is it actually out again? I know dating the podcast here.
It is the end of 2021, I think.
I know the multiplayer is out already. And that's getting like really good reviews apparently. So that's
is it?
Yeah. I mean, it's just classic Halo. Like people are loving it.
The only thing people don't
that's what
like.
I've been hearing though. Like the more critical people that I've been hearing from is like actually the exact same thing you just said. It's like classic Halo, but they're saying it in a very cynical like tone of voice. It's like it's nothing new whatsoever. Like so, if you like Halo, grand. Yeah,
well, I think the majority of fans just wanted that classic Halo experience, but with in 2021 like graphics and stuff. You know,
and I guess there's definitely room on the market for it because on one end you got like more serious military multiplayer shooters, and then at the other end you have like Fortnites and Apex Legends.
Yeah, so, this is neatly in the middle.
Yeah, maybe it has its own niche there that it can serve in terms of like a big multiplayer game, but. It's exciting and pretty much it validates their decision to push it back altogether.
Christ, Halo's a bad game though, isn't it?
We have to get into this sometime actually because I'm quite fond of the first two games.
I'm not a huge Halo fan either.
Wow. Okay.
But sorry, I just wanted to say this. The whole thing with this one as well is that it's going to be the last Halo, isn't it? But it's because they're going to turn it into a game as a service thing because it's fully open world as well, isn't it?
Yeah. So maybe the multiplayer will keep going and going and going because I guess the infinite of the title is.
And they can just keep adding like DLC, like what you call it. Like monthly updates or whatever, you know, that kind of thing.
I'd say they will support the multiplayer a lot going forward. I don't, but I can't see them like not releasing another Halo ever.
Yeah,
it's like, do you know, another big thing that happened this year, we won't get too much into, but Smash Brothers sort of officially ended in some ways, as in the last character was revealed and the last update went live recently. Like
how long did that last? Was that 3 years or something? They dragged that out.
At least, I'd say,
because I thought it was well over like a year ago.
Same.
But now then they were like, we got a new character. Who's it going to be? I'm like, what?
How many characters did they add? Because I remember when it first came out and they were like, there's going to be 5 additional characters or something like that.
No, they added way more than
that. It was 10 in the end. There was like 2 seasons. First one was like 5 characters and the second was another 5 characters. And like a lot of them were kind of flavors of the month. Like I felt like, but there were some odd choices as well there. Like the last one they had was Sora from Kingdom Hearts, and like that was a bit of an odd choice. But then again, I also kind of think they were just kind of like, who the fuck can we add? Like, who else have we got? You know, how about the janitor who works at Nintendo? We can throw him in there. Billy, get over here.
They definitely should have added that dude from Resident Evil 4 who sells you guns and stuff.
The merchant.
Oh man, he would have been class. Yeah.
But yeah, game delays were a huge thing this year. But then Steve touched upon it. There were some games that probably should have been delayed. We had some pretty stinky launches, to put pardon my French, guys, but they were stinky.
Oh my God, I can't think of any. Can you name some for me?
Well, Steve, I guess the big one from last year, which sort of had ripples into this year, was Cyberpunk.
Was that last year? I thought that was this year.
Yeah, it was November last year.
Yeah. Getting delayed. So we did a podcast on Cyberpunk around the time it came out because I played it on the base PS4 version, and I remember thinking,
well done again, by the way.
Sorry?
Well done again, by the way.
Congratulations.
I'm getting a letter from the Queen, actually. But I remember thinking at the time it wasn't quite the dumpster fire everyone was saying, but it was definitely like, guys, you knew this game wasn't finished. Like, come on. Like, don't give me half a pizza, you know?
Yeah. I mean, spoiler alert, I'm playing it now, but it's, I'll get into that later. But it's like, the story is really good in it. Like, and the world they built is deadly. But it just got such bad criticism because of the glitches and everything wrong with it on the console versions and stuff. But if you look past all that, it's a great game.
They do seem to just now have turned a corner with it. It seems to be getting more positive reviews, and it's somewhat stable on the higher end systems and stuff. So.
Yeah, it's still not what they promised. Like, there's a lot of cut content from it and stuff, and hopefully it does pull a No Man's Sky and redeem itself another year or two down the line. But it was just a fucking disaster launch for it, though.
Crazy bad. But in terms of this year, we had some stonkers of our own.
We did indeed.
So Battlefield 2042 recently released.
Now, I meant to ask you about this because you mentioned this before, and like I had heard nothing about it. Why was that so bad?
Yeah, I don't know either.
Well, okay, two different sides of it, right? One, just stability issues with people playing online and stuff. And if you look up on the video version of this, I'll put some clips of all the glitches and things going wrong in like multiplayer games. Now that does happen. That's
happened with every Battlefield.
Almost every Battlefield, when they launch, it's a bit of like it's held together by duct tape, really, and that's fair. But there seems to be a more insidious problem in that there are rumors that this game originally wasn't going to be the classic Battlefield that it's been marketed as. It was going to be a lot more of a bigger, open sort of battle royale experience. And there's been complaints about the map size just like not being fun. Doesn't matter how many players are on it. When you're playing like the classic Battlefield modes like Conquest, the maps just don't suit it. Yeah. And just a lot of the quality of life features that were taken from the game that were in the previous ones, like 3 and 4. Like the main complaint seems to be, why would I play this when Battlefield 4 still has a thriving online community? So that's a bit of a weird, because that's like on a technical side, yes, there's some bad stuff, but also in a design aspect, there's some stuff they didn't get right as well. So
has Battlefield just reached its peak with 3 and 4 is the thing? Because like
that's a depressing thought, but possibly.
Because like what I've heard a lot is that, you know, the gameplay in 3, like, so basically like 3 I think was the peak. 4 was literally just more of 3. They didn't really add a lot into 4. I feel that was different. But like since then, they've tried to innovate in the franchise with like Battlefield 1, Battlefield 5, change things a bit. But players have just hated every change. They're like, no, we like it the way it was. Why are you messing with the formula? And that's the thing. So what can you do going forward except just bring out a copy of the same game? If players are backlashing against every change you make and every time you try and innovate, what do you do?
I do feel for them, because they, like, it's right, they do have their backs to the wall to a certain extent, and it's like no matter what we do, people are going to shit on it to a certain extent. But there are, I don't know, some aspects of design with this which maybe raise some question marks, like certain things being taken out, or the map sizes not being as, specifically designed for some of the like better game modes. But
I will say the trailer they brought out for like blew everyone's mind.
It looked amazing.
It looked like, holy shit, this is a return to Battlefield that we love, and well, apparently
is that not every Battlefield though? Like, I mean, I'm asking genuine curiously, like, isn't like every single Battlefield trailer generally amazing?
Well, I think like especially with 1 and 5, like they were set in World War One and World War Two respectively, but everybody kind of wanted the more modern feel that 3 and 4 had. And I guess they changed so much in 1 and 5, like people just like didn't like them.
Can I just say this naming convention is so fucking confusing.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Went from Battlefield 4 to Battlefield 1 to 5 to 2042.
Yeah.
Like we skipped 2,000
where's
games.
Yeah, exactly. Where are the 2,000 and something in between ones?
You completionists out there have to play 2,000 Battlefields until you can play the new one.
Like technically Battlefield 1 is the 5th game. And Battlefield 5 is the 6th
That's insane. Bet you someone at Xbox had their finger in that pie, I'd say, because their naming conventions are shit as well.
So
just like
bad.
naming consoles.
That's it. Say what you like about PlayStation. You know where you stand with each one.
Yeah. Can we talk about the absolute shit show that was the Avengers launch while we're here?
Yeah, that's another one. And like Battlefield and Cyberpunk, there's a potential, especially nowadays with games and these live service games, that they can turn this around in time and add enough patches and things. But it seems like this one was dead from the start.
Yeah.
This is again a design thing where people wanted, like the Avengers, you think it's going to be a home run, like it's a money printing machine, but they went in a different direction. People just wanted like a fun single player, possibly co-op thing where you can have fun with your mates and play as like a Thor or Captain America or Iron Man, sort of like what the Guardians of the Galaxy game did.
Yeah, that was very much their response, I think, in a way. Like they were kind of like, okay, we'll do basically what you want, and weird thing is, like, everyone's just kind of been quite surprised by Guardians of the Galaxy. You're like, oh, actually it's quite good, but it hasn't really gotten a big fanfare. It hasn't been like, holy shit, this is amazing. It's just kind of like, look, everyone's looking at it and going like, that's what we wanted. Well done.
It's not going to be anyone's like favorite game of all time, really. But it did tick the boxes, and it's a bit more of a satisfying experience. Like the main criticism I've heard of the Avengers game is that it's a grind. It's just repetitive grind over and over again.
But that's like what all games as a service games turn into, just grinding like fest,
and loot boxes basically. As well. Well, actually, does it have loot boxes?
It has that.
It has paid DLC anyway.
Yeah, and cosmetic items that you can buy, and like you look up. I don't know what the number is, but if you look up, if you wanted to buy all the stuff, it would be like a couple of grand to buy all the items and stuff like that.
Did you hear about like the recent like absolute shit show that was the Spider-Man DLC that the PlayStation version was getting? So like, you know, when that was coming out first, like they were touting like, oh yeah, and the PlayStation 4 version is going to have special Spider-Man DLC. Xbox version won't have that. And lots of people were pissed off about that, understandably, because, you know, Spider-Man's one of the most well-known characters. So they've been releasing DLC, like characters and bits, and nearly every single new character, like I think it's, they had not Hawkeye, but you know, like the young Hawkeye, I forget her name, Kate Bishop, I think it is. Okay. Yeah, Kate Bishop.
Yeah.
So she got introduced, and she had like a little bit of a story, some extra gear, a few special quests. Like, you know, she had her own little segment, little DLC segment, and that's what they were doing for each one, as far as I know. But Spider-Man, because they were reacting to everybody's like, you know, they're just pissed off with the fact that like only PlayStation people are getting it. Spider-Man isn't getting a story. He isn't getting like, you know, special missions or anything. He's just in it. And that's pissing people off even further, because they're like some people are like, I specifically got this version of the game and I'm getting nothing really out of it. It's like, what the fuck? They're fucking up at every single level. It's so bad.
That is annoying though. Yeah, if I specifically got it on the PlayStation because I wanted to play as Spider-Man, and like I guess you can play as him, but there's no specific story content for him. So that's frustrating. Saying that, there's like 2 really good Spider-Man games out, so like go fucking play those, I guess. I don't know.
You can play it in the original Tony Hawk's and Tony Hawk's Underground, or Tony Hawk's 2. I think you can unlock them, can't you? Yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. I think I heard that somewhere.
But the king of shit launches this year has to be the Grand Theft Auto Trilogy Definitive Edition.
Definite edition.
Lads, this is definitely an addition to this game.
Three games.
This one is crazy. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but like my feed on whatever social media platform I was on was swamped with just gifs of like everything going wrong with this game.
It's just I think it's like, yeah, it's crazy how much of a shit show it turned out to be, especially because it's from Rockstar. And as we know now, it wasn't Rockstar that developed it. It was they outsourced it to, can't remember the name of the studio, but like just it's not what you expect from the quality you expect from Rockstar, because they bring out a game a decade kind of thing. Do you know what I mean? And they spend so much time getting it right and perfect. And here was 3 games that were already perfect from like nearly 2 decades ago. All they had to do was like upres the graphics and stuff, and they just fucked it so bad.
They completely shit the bed.
Like
they
it's worse than the originals somehow.
Yeah.
Like, you know.
But
and like actually the thing I take issue more than anything with that is the fact that you can't get the originals now.
Yes,
that
they
pisses me
delisted
off
them.
so much.
Yeah.
They actually relisted them for PC, and they said anybody who bought the definitive edition they were going to give them for free.
Yeah.
But console, I think you still can't get them.
No, you can't. So if you want to play those games, you have to either have the original physical release or play these new versions. But it's just it's comical seeing. I presume everyone saw the rain in the game.
Yeah.
The fact that you can't see
Jesus
5 feet in
Christ.
front of you, and the rain clips through and doesn't show up over bodies of water. And
it shows up inside as well.
inside. Yeah. Now, one thing I'll have to say is they have released patches since and like amended a lot of the technical issues, but there's still
Too little, too late, though.
Yeah, but there's other things that don't really work, like the new controls don't really work with some of the games. They haven't really thought that through, and there's some glitches from the originals that are still in the game.
Hot coffee mod.
Hot coffee details were left in it, and the graphical changes as well are weird.
Can I be honest? Like, I thought when I first saw like even the trailer that they put out and stuff, I just think like the sharpness and stuff of it looks weird. Like I prefer the softness of the old ones, because I think it's just because of the graphical style. Like having really sharp textures on the car and really shiny, it just looks really odd, I think.
And the thing is, if you look back at those old games, they had a lot of filters on them.
Loads,
so Grand Theft Auto 3 had this like grimy sort of filter, and San Andreas had like a more sunny sort of smoggy thing going on. They're completely gone now, and like it does lose a bit of its ambience as a result of that, and it does look weird and stark and empty, like especially when, because now the draw distance is pretty much infinite, people have like gone up in a helicopter in Grand Theft Auto San Andreas and you can see to the end of the map and it makes it look really small, whereas before there would be like smoke and
fog or whatever.
It wouldn't have rendered like the far off city or whatever,
which is kind of nice in a way, because it gives you that illusion that like, this is my, like, because they did it really well, the way they used the fog and stuff to make it believable. It's like, oh yeah, I guess it could be that foggy that I can't see over there, so it feels like I'm just in this corner of the city.
Isn't there a bit in San Andreas, there's a bit like kind of out in the countryside you can go to, and now I think in this version, if you go there, you can still see the city in the background, whereas in the original it was like, obviously now you're miles away from the city, but in this version it's just like completely ruined the illusion. And also, actually, did you see the donut thing?
Oh yeah, no, it wasn't. It was a nut, like a lug nut or something. So they had
you explain, you know about.
They had an AI upscaling some of the textures. So anything that was like a hexagon will get rounded, because generally, like if a wheel or the tire on a car or something has like sharp edges, they wanted to round those to make it more realistic. But there was an advertisement for like a lug nut, which has like 8 sides or something, but it got rounded into a complete circle. So you can just tell that like they just threw an AI. And
so the thing is, right, that lug nut was actually in the original game apparently supposed to be a donut, but the reason that they put it down as like a nuts like lug nut, like that was a very meta joke that they were doing back in the day, because like they knew they couldn't get it completely rounded, so they were like, let's just make it like a lug nut, and it's like, oh yeah, it's kind of meta, so yeah. But now in a way it's even more meta because like, they've smoothed it out and they've fucked up the whole joke, and like anyone who's aware of it is like, what the fuck?
Now, before we move on, just a brief mention to a game. Maybe it flew under the radar for a lot of people. I didn't play it, but it was like, watching a car on fire from a distance. It was sort of hypnotic and entrancing. It was called Balan Wonderworld.
Yeah.
And it was just...
Wonderland, I think, isn't it?
No, Wonder World. That's the thing about the name. You expect it because it's Balan, it will be Balan Wonderland.
You're right.
That
Jesus.
makes sense. But no, they called it fucking Balan Wonderworld. Like, why? And it seems it's so weird because it's published by Square Enix, and its director was Yuji Naka, who is part like a bit of a legend. He was part of the original Sonic team, and he made Nights into Dreams and Phantasy Star Online. So, like a big name in Japanese development back in the 90s, but he just, I don't know what this thing is. It seems like a really bad knockoff, like Euro Shop version of Super Mario, what was the last Super Mario Odyssey? Because you get different abilities as you go along.
The costumes.
Etc. But one of the abilities is the ability to jump. So... But this is a platforming game, so why do I need to wear a special costume to jump in the game?
Yeah.
It's just like, and the design, technical aspects, everything of it is just a bit of a disaster. It's definitely one of those ones where it's a curiosity. I want to play it at some point just to experience how bad it is, because it seems hilariously bad from the outside, but... Bad games are bad games. They're really frustrating and annoying to play. So I'm not sure how much enjoyment I would even get.
We've had a good few.
You need a group. You need it kind of like like when you're screening the room. Like nobody watches the room by themselves. You need it like to have like everybody in the room together so you can appreciate the terribleness of it together. Can I bring? Actually, sorry, Sean, you were about to say something, but I want to bring something up after that.
No, go ahead. It was just an anecdote, but anyway.
Oh, just a really funny story I had.
Just a funny story I heard at the Croquet Club.
No. I was just fuck it. Just say your piece, Steve, for fuck's sake. It's over.
Oh, we have fun, don't we? One other game that like wasn't a shit launch per se, but it did bring certain issues to the surface was Metroid Dread, which everybody loved. Everybody was delighted with that. I thought it was a great game. But before it came out, somebody revealed that they had a HD version that ran at 1080p on like online, and like obviously this was pirated. So this raised a couple of issues around the time. Like a lot of people were questioning like, why should I pay more for an inferior product when I can get like a much better version for free online? And Nintendo still haven't really addressed this. This is something that's happening again and again. I think there was another game recently that released. I think, the new Pokemon games. One of them is available online, also in 1080p, and they haven't really done anything about it yet. Like they haven't made many comments.
Wait, sorry, Steve, but like how is the pirated version better quality though? Because isn't like the game 1080 anyway?
No. So I think, well, maybe it is. Maybe it's. I know it's better quality in resolution, but like I'm trying to remember what the exact. I don't know if the Switch is 1080.
Well, if you play handheld, it's 720, but if you put it in the dock, it's 1080. Then, so maybe
it's it maybe just be Super HD. I know the Metroid Dread one definitely was like a higher resolution or like Super HD or something. But 4K. That's what it was. Sorry,
oh really?
Metroid.
Wow.
Yeah, Metroid Dread was in 4K. I don't know if that's the case with the Pokemon one, but it's still an issue. Like the fact that you can get these games like in better, like it's one thing when you can just get the same game.
Yeah.
You know, like, and like, then it's a case of like, well, okay, you should pay the person like who worked on it because that's only fair. But when you can get a better version of a game,
I'm guessing,
and like,
I'm guessing, I'm guessing whoever like pirated just upscaled it to 4K or something because like it was made for the Switch, which can only go to 1080. So, I mean, it just sounds weird that they would have a 4K version unreleased or something. I don't know, maybe for future.
But maybe they
something.
make it as high def as possible and then scale it down to fit. And as like they have a higher def version in their vaults that they can re-release later or
Maybe,
something like
yeah.
that.
Could be, yeah.
But that is a weird one, I guess, because like, yeah, you don't want to support piracy, but I guess maybe the Switch is reaching the end of its lifespan in some ways, and maybe next year we'll hopefully see some new hardware from Nintendo. I don't know. They're still selling so many
OLED
copies.
screen not doing it for you, no? Still not like...
I'm not sure if that'll push me over the edge.
It does look cool, but I think they're going to try... I don't know. Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do, because they've said, like, I think there was a quote from somebody at Nintendo this year saying that they believe like the Switch is only halfway through its life cycle. But if they don't, like, they're just going to get left behind. Like they already are like very underpowered, but like they need to change the chip they're using, because like otherwise it's just going to be the same. Like, I think the Switch has like reached its peak. Like, developers have pushed it as much as they can in terms of graphics and stuff like that. So if we have another 5 years of the Switch at the same level with the PS,
I think it could do well though, because like there's a lot of games that I specifically like hold out from getting unless it's on. Like, there's a couple of games, like there was one that was released on PS Plus. It was like the Kingdoms of Amalur re-release thing, and like I can get that for free on the PlayStation, but I still want that on the Switch, because I think that'd be a really fun game to play on handheld. So like I think they're onto something there, because there's a lot like it's an indie game like treasure vault, the Switch. Like, it's so good to play like small little games, but like the big games are the ones obviously you save for your Xbox and your PlayStation.
And at the moment they don't have a competitor in terms of handheld gaming.
No.
Like, there's nothing out there to take any players from its base, and it's still selling like hotcakes. So it's hard to see him changing it up anytime soon. But you're right, Sean, they are reaching the technical limits of it. Like, Breath of the Wild 2 will probably be the peak, and then from there, like, you see, the thing is, the knock-on effect it's going to have in a few years is that less and less third-party games will be able to be played on the Switch, because they just won't be able to down-res them enough. Yeah, really, without it becoming like a mess.
Actually, just another tangent off the back of what you were saying. Like, the one thing the Switch has really done is reinvigorated like people's love for handheld gaming. I mean, I know we had like the DS and stuff before that, but to have more of a home console experience on a handheld, like Steam have announced, and I don't know if they've released it yet, but the Steam Deck.
Oh yeah, of course, that could be like a competitor for
a handheld PC basically, and they're claiming, it can play all of your Steam library, which is yet to be seen. And also, actually, just last week, Razer and Qualcomm announced they're bringing out a new handheld, which looks whack, to be honest. It literally looks like somebody stuck a phone in between two controllers, and that's it. It's only going to use a mobile chip, so I think it's literally going to be for mobile games, and like maybe like some, like Switch games could run on it too, because Switch like runs on Android as well, or underneath it. But yeah, I don't know. And to be honest, I think there was also like an uncovered patent from Sony.
They're going to throw their hat back in the ring.
I don't know. I don't know if you saw this, but there was an uncovered patent of a DualShock controller cut in half, basically, which looked like two Joy-Cons, and it looked like it was going to be more for a phone or something, that you could like stick them to get like onto a phone or something. But who knows?
That could tie into the fact that there's been rumors now recently about Sony is going to revamp its streaming service, which is PlayStation Now.
Yeah, actually,
and they're going to combine PlayStation Now and PlayStation Plus and make a new ultra great streaming service that'll be a competitor to Microsoft's Game Pass, which has been doing great. And apparently there's going to be several tiers of subscription that you can get, but one of the tiers will be access to a library of PlayStation 1, 2 and 3 games to stream.
That would sell amazing.
And if that was tied with like a mobile app that you could play them from, and then like controller support, obviously that would be really cool.
And I hope it's all true. Like, I don't know how much of that's officially announced, but because like PlayStation are sitting on a gold mine, and they really need to revamp their services, because it's just a bit of a mess at the moment. It's kind of like where Xbox used to be with games with gold, and then they started Game Pass, and it's like, well, what's the difference here? But now they're really just pushing everything into Game Pass, and it's like, forget about games with gold. It's just a legacy service at this stage, so they really need to do that, I think, and it would be a great competitor, I think, to Game Pass.
Yeah, of course. And, the library, like you said, the library of games they have would be a huge asset. So one last story from this year that's a bit more serious that we want to talk about is the Activision Blizzard abuse lawsuit that's recently come out. So not as many zingers in this section, guys. Sorry.
Yeah. Fucking Bobby Kotick. What a scumbag.
I know. What a dickhead. Like, he's like comically evil at this point. But so just like a quick overview, there's currently a lawsuit in California about abuses in the workplace. So that stems from like what's described as like a frat boy atmosphere, like very drunken behavior and a bit of a boys club, which, you know, seems to be a common thing, a common thread for a lot of game studios, but also extends to allegations of sexual abuse and it being covered up internally and people not being punished as a result. And this is something that we've seen, like we had it with Riot Games recently and we had it with Ubisoft recently. I guess not to praise either of those companies, but there was some, you know, people got fired and there does seem to be at least superficially some sort of repercussions for the actions. But with Activision, everything just seems to be going from worse to worse with them.
Yeah.
And
I've been hearing new stuff now. Like they had there was a new thing that like one employee came forward and said that there was these special not Christmas parties, but general work parties where the women were encouraged to drink more so that the men would have a better time.
Oh, God.
And like when Bobby Kotick like was approached about this and asked questions, he says, "Well, I don't recollect like that specific party." And it's like that response is just sick. And he's like, "Well, how could you remember that specific one when there's so many of those ones going on?" Like,
I just read here, I didn't realise this, but horribly, a female employee committed suicide on a company trip due to a sexual relationship she was having with her male supervisor.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I didn't know that at all.
I guess you see, like, a lot of people think, oh, you know, it's boys will be boys, and it's this sort of like, it's a male-dominated industry, so, like, what do you expect? But then, like, you get cases like things you brought up, or like even like less serious, like ones that don't result in death, but like can have like very traumatic repercussions for people, and like that sort of stuff just isn't acceptable.
No,
anymore.
it's so horrible, and it's such an outdated like way of thinking and stuff. Even though it was never okay, but like I think nowadays, like. Is it that male dominated anymore? I don't know. I feel like there's a good mix now.
A lot less. I think. I don't have. I'm. This is just me spitballing, but I feel like a lot of companies like to project that they have a very diverse workplace.
Yeah.
But
I guess management and stuff is still heavily male.
But yeah,
stuff.
they mightn't necessarily have like a fucked up thing that came out of this is that there was a letter when the allegations first started coming out. There was a letter released by Fran Townsend, who works in like a senior position within the company, and she was sort of, you know, trying to point out all the good things that Activision is doing for diversity and for protecting women in the workplace and stuff like that. And it seemed like an empty gesture. But it's now emerged that that was actually written by Bobby Kotick and just put her name on it. And she's since left the company.
Such a piece of shit.
I know, he's
Seriously,
such a dickhead.
like, he's such an arsehole. But it's interesting that like in response to all this stuff, a lot of like the major companies have kind of made a statement saying like we have a lot of concerns for the way like the things that are going on over at Activision, like Sony, Nintendo, Microsoft. They've all come forward to say this, and like while on the surface that looks good, I also feel like they're just doing that because if they didn't, their silence would be very conspicuous.
It's damage control, I think.
Yeah.
And it's not like they don't have their own skeletons in their own companies to a certain extent. Like there's a gender discrimination lawsuit at the moment happening with Sony, and like there's some statistics about Nintendo's it's like 89% male workplace or something like that in Nintendo's like management structure. That number might be wrong. I'll have to double check that. I'll put it up on screen if it is wrong. But yeah, I think there's a long road to go with a lot of this stuff.
Ooh, yeah.
But finally, I guess a lot of it's coming to light, which is good. And maybe if there are some financial repercussions for these companies, it might be good. Like we did see, now this is a very small gesture, but the Game Awards are coming up and they have sort of, outside of nominations, they're not going to be having any, representation of Activision Blizzard properties, which seems good in some ways. But two things.
Still damage control as well there.
Damage control, as in this only came to light after Jeff Keighley was specifically asked about this and sort of put under a bit of pressure.
Oh, really?
And two, it's sort of like there's still a member of the board of the Game Awards who is Activision executive.
Oh.
So they obviously, a lot of these companies are all in bed together, so it's very hard to untangle or see any direct repercussions as a result of that.
Yeah. It's pretty telling that Call of Duty Vanguard is still being advertised on every storefront as well. So it's not like anyone's taking it so seriously. They're going to be like, well, we're going to take away your big seller now. So
the only thing I see about that, and I do agree that there should be some sort of, I don't know if a boycott is needed or something like that, but at the same time, I feel for the employees who work on these games and then their baby is going to get pushed back or fucked because of the actions of some management and these horrible other people. But at the end of the day, there does seem what more can we do to send a message to these companies really than not displaying their games or not buying their games.
I was just reading here, the creative director of World of Warcraft, Alex Afrazibi or something. I can't say his last name, but his office was dubbed the Cosby Suite after Bill Cosby.
Oh,
and
fuck.
at BlizzCon, there's a great picture here which I can't believe exists, but at BlizzCon in 2013, his hotel room was nicknamed the Cosby Suite, and there's a picture of 8 developers on his bed with a picture of Bill Cosby. Literally, it's just
God.
Look at
just
that,
a huge frame picture
of Bill Cosby. It's so weird. Why do you have that?
God, that's such a weird hill to die on, guys. Don't fucking. Why would you fuck your career up? But that is what I'm asking why, and it's because that sort of atmosphere was nurtured in some ways, or if not sure about nurtured, but at least it wasn't, condemned. So yeah, wow.
Yeah.
What a downer.
I think it should be just one final thing to kind of hopefully uplift spirits. I think it should be said that fair play to the people who spoke out about it.
Yeah, 100%.
Because that is not easy to do at all. Because your career is fucked pretty much after you do that. Even if everything goes well and you're okay, this person's going to be reprimanded, changes are going to be made. For the foreseeable future, your career is in the gutter after that. And this is not to disparage anyone who didn't speak up, because again, it's
a difficult thing to do. Yeah,
it's a huge step to make. But a lot of people, there was a huge walkout from Blizzard Activision, and
there's been a few actually. Yeah,
that takes serious balls, or the lady version of balls, whatever. Not that there were no men at it, obviously no, but it does take serious kahoonies. Is that what they say? I don't know.
That's still balls, but anyway, it's fine. We know where your heart is, Steve. It's okay.
But it just
in my balls.
It kind of shows how these things steamroll or whatever, snowball is the word. Yeah, because a few people come forward, then more people are oh, they're coming out, I can come out as well, and just it just snowballs, and everybody starts coming forward because they have support of other people who are doing it.
Yeah, hopefully,
which is really good.
In an ideal world, hopefully it will see more of this come to light. Really,
it's just you just don't know what's going on where. Stuff that hasn't come to light.
Oh, I'm sure there's lots more stories to come out.
I never expected this to happen in the gaming industry. Do you know? Just because you don't see it in that same Hollywood light that the Harvey Weinsteins and stuff.
It goes to show it can happen in any workplace though. Any sort of anywhere there's a hierarchy, there's going to be people who abuse that power. Really, which is why we shouldn't have a monarchy in England. New
hot take.
Podcast.
Yeah, Prince Andrew. Fucking
eat the rich. We've been very down on shit. Should we talk about some video games again, proper video game style?
So that's the year that's it in
Not a lot of positive notes.
in a nutshell. Yeah, sorry we're down. But no, we are going to talk about some positive stuff now. So we are going to talk about our top 5 games we've played this year. And if we're lucky, maybe 1 or 2 of them actually came out this year as well. But these are ones, just ones we've played. So some of these will be obviously a bit older. I'm not sure what the oldest one I have is, but why don't we go around the room and... So we have these from 5 to 1.
Each. Oh, yeah,
so why don't I throw it to Steve and you give me your number 5 and your number 4? Yeah, you have to go first, man.
Oh shit. Well, yeah. Well, my one's fairly old. My first one is from about 5-6 years ago. Mentioned it on a previous podcast. My number 5 is Final Fantasy 15.
Oh wow. Okay, creeping in there. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like I wasn't sure. I knew it would be in there somewhere because I did enjoy it a lot. But it was a very relaxing game to play. Like it kind of became my podcast listening game. Yeah. Like so. The actual story and like all that, I won't talk about this for too long because everything that's been said about Final Fantasy 15, I'll just be repeating. But like most of the story was a big pile of dog bollocks. So like the best part of it was the gameplay, which a lot of people champion. Like, you know, it should be all about the gameplay, but I always enjoyed the story of Final Fantasy, so I'm missing that. Yeah. So I was bummed that the actual story itself was a bit wank, really, when you get right down to it.
No, you're right though, because that's a huge part of Final Fantasy games, and it's what drives you on a lot of the time. And yeah, they unfortunately didn't manage to get both of them right when they went open world with it, but yeah, and I had some good points. I liked the four guys and their sort of camaraderie and stuff. Yeah. That was a cool aspect of it, I think.
Like, it seems fairly obvious to me they put all their focus, well, quite a lot of their focus on just like the minute or second to second gameplay, like, and that they nailed. I think it felt really good, just like running around, fighting, all that kind of stuff. It's just the framework kind of made it fall apart, but it was good. I enjoyed it for that. My number 4 is a game, I'm not sure if I mentioned that I've played to either of you guys, is Stardew Valley.
Oh, cool.
Okay. Yeah. Have you guys played that?
No, but I've heard like great things about it if like you're into that kind of relaxing kind of
like Harvest Moon for
game kind of thing.
Yeah.
Boomers.
And you know, the funny thing is, it's a game that I would never have picked up. Like, I got it as a present like one year, and I was like, oh, all right, I'll give this a go. And I would actually recommend it in the same way that I'd recommend to someone who's never had a massage, like, you should give it a go. You'll actually appreciate, like, it is honestly like, it's that kind of like vibe. Like, it's just a very relaxing, like meditative kind of experience. Like, and a big part of that, for if you guys don't know anything about it, like, there's no lose state in it. You can't miss stuff. There is like, if you have any form of anxiety, this is the game for you, because really, there is nothing you can do that fucks stuff up, like, at all. Like, you can just keep going again and again, and eventually you're going to build towards whatever goal it is that you want to do. Like, there's no real way you can fuck up, but there's a great sense of satisfaction when you achieve whatever it is you want to do. And it's actually the only game on this list that I haven't actually completed because I can keep coming back to it. It's just one of those kind of games.
What is the main goal in it? Like, is it to build a farm kind of?
So this is the thing, like, the main goal is whatever you want it to be, which I know is kind of sounds like I'm like the developer saying it's like, do it your way. But like, you can choose a goal for yourself. Like, so for me, what I was trying to do was I wanted to build a good relationship with everybody in the town, and to restore, there's this like a old town hall community building that you have to restore, and they were kind of my 2 main goals. But I've heard other people talking about it and saying like, my main goal was to like be a number 1 fisherman and catch every kind of fish. Another person was saying like, my main goal was to be like the top explorer and explore like all the dungeons in the place. Another person was just like, I just wanted to have a farm that was entirely centered on coffee, and that's all I wanted to do. So like, you can literally play it any way you want, and it's addictive. It also has that gameplay loop of like, it lasts for about 10 minutes, I'd say, each day. So it's very easy to pick up and play for like that 10 minutes and then go back and stop. It's very addictive, and I'd highly recommend it.
Nice. I mean, yeah, maybe I'll pick it up at some stage. I always... Yeah, I've always kind of wanted to try a game like that. That's just like, really relaxing, pick up and play. But also like it's a really big game as well. Like how long would it take to complete that? Like,
so it, like I put a fair few hours into it and I haven't come close to completing it, but it is also a game that I'd say you're a lot like me in your gameplay style, Sean. So you probably will play it for a while, put it down and come back to it again. That's kind of how I'm looking at it. So,
okay, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah. It's also one of the few games that I'm considering buying twice. I've already have it on PlayStation, but I want to get it for Switch again.
Nice.
Because it's a very mobile type game.
It seems perfect for a Switch, really.
Yeah, like an Animal Crossing kind of thing.
Yeah.
So
I'm going to throw it back to... oh, sorry. You were going to...
Michael.
Michael, I was going to say.
Michael.
The chair doesn't recognise your ass. Okay. Now I'm going to throw it to Sean for your 5 and 4.
No, you go ahead, Michael.
Okay. Wow. Thanks, man. So at number 5 for me was Yakuza Zero.
Oh, cool.
So this is the first Yakuza game I've ever played, and they're wonderful. They're such a unique thing. It actually would have been higher in my list, but I haven't finished the game. And maybe one flaw I would point out is that maybe it gets a little samey as you go through it, but it's just so batshit and entertaining, and like, I guess like a high level view of it is you got like the super serious Yakuza storyline and like these really well directed and acted cutscenes that are like melodramatic and exciting, and then you got all the side activity where you're going and singing a karaoke song, or you're doing these weird side missions where you're helping like a dominatrix be a better dominatrix and stuff like that. That stuff is amazing, and it's also like a really cool example of an open world game, but one that doesn't necessarily fall into, the Ubisoft or GTA style open worlds. It's more of a smaller, condensed one where like you're walking around. You don't have any vehicles in the game, so you're walking around this district in Tokyo, and there's so much detail and so many things to do. Like it's almost overwhelming at points because there's so many little side activities you can do, but the moment-to-moment gameplay is really fun as well because there's constantly like fights you're getting into in the streets, and it's got quite a deep combat system as well, I have to say. Like it's got combos and different like stances you can use, and you can upgrade them and like sort of tailor the fighting style to whatever you like. And also like really entertaining finishing moves because you can grab like random stuff off the street, so you can like beat a guy to unconsciousness with like a sign for a massage parlor or something like that you just grabbed off the street. So yeah, I'm so glad that the Yakuza games are now in my life. Do you know, like it's just something that I've always heard of, but I'd never dipped my toe into, and yeah, super fun and very unique.
Nice.
That's the main thing I'd say about it. Number 4 is A Hat in Time. So
really?
Yeah, really loved A Hat in Time. So
that game, yeah.
This was a platformer released in 2017, and to be honest, I was sort of debating whether to include this or Psychonauts 2. Because I didn't want to include both of them because they're both like platforming games, and what it ultimately came down to is Psychonauts 2 is really good and it's very well written, really funny, but the platforming is still pretty basic in the game and it's pretty janky, whereas A Hat in Time is like such a joy to play. If you like, Jack and Daxter, Super Mario Sunshine, Banjo-Kazooie, if you like those sort of games, you'll love this one. It's definitely a throwback sort of thing, it throws you into a big open level with loads of platforming, says collect 100 things and go have fun, and
sick.
It's also like really charming and funny, and its level design is excellent. I think that's where like there's two main things that a platformer needs, and it's like satisfying movement and good level design, and it has both of those things in spades. So like it was really refreshing. I sort of fell back in love with platforming games this year. I bought Jack and Daxter again for like the third time. So
no way.
I was playing
the first one,
yeah.
Nice.
Weird note about that. For some reason, in Jack and Daxter when you buy it now on the PlayStation Store, the camera is automatically set to, I can't remember if it's inverted y-axis or like uninverted y-axis. I can't remember. It's set one way. and you can't change it through the menu. You have to do what's almost like a cheat code. So you have to go into a certain menu, and it's not like something you can select to change the camera orientation. You have to put in like a secret menu thing where you press start and then do up and over and X, and then it'll change to... I don't know why.
That's
it's
so
just
weird.
not officially part of the game. Maybe that's like a symptom of it being back, like it's, I don't know, 15 years old or something like that. But yeah, sorry, that was a weird tangent. But that just really annoyed me when I got the game.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm back into my platforming buzz, and yeah, Hat in Time was like a very cool modern example. Well, it's like 4 years old now, but
nice, man.
More modern example. So Sean, what was your 5 and 4 games?
Cool, yeah. I'm
Very
not
good.
Well, I mean, all these games are ones I've mentioned before on the podcast. 5 is the only game that was released this year, and that's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater, which is
cool.
the
Nice.
remasters, basically. I've kind of I've talked about it before. Just really fun games that you can jump in and out of easily. It takes each level or whatever, or each run on a level is like 2 minutes or less. So it's like really like easy to just pick up and play for a quick session, and a lot of fun. It's not like there's no serious story or anything like that. You can just enjoy like pulling off tricks and stuff.
I don't think Tony Hawk's needs a storyline necessarily, or did they try to do that with the Underground games? And
I don't know. I never played them.
Did not go, yeah.
But yeah, no, I mean, and like you guys have kind of played either the originals or the remasters, so you know what they're like. Just really fun, and they were like...
How do you know that, Sean?
That might be in a podcast coming in the future, guys.
Well, it'll definitely be out by the time this is out. So anyway, will it not?
No, it won't be out till next year. Okay, just a quick
Spoilers.
tangent, guys.
Don't go spoiler.
we might be talking about Tony Hawk's in a specific podcast next year.
Okay, cool. Anyway, well, I'll wrap this up so I won't keep it too long. But yeah, they were just like how a remaster should be done as well.
The graphics look great in it.
They were done, they were just made really well, and they kept the gameplay exactly like it was on the originals. So, yeah, they were great. Number 4 is... spoiler, actually, the game I'm playing now, so I'm probably not going to go into like a load of detail later about this, but Cyberpunk 2077, really enjoying it. I'm really surprised how much I'm enjoying it as well, because I just bought it on a whim because it was half price during Black Friday sales, and I said, oh well, sure, I'll give it a go. Like, there's been a lot of updates to it and stuff, so I'll see how it runs. And I'm playing it on Stadia FYI as well, so there's like, it was never plagued with as many problems as console versions, but there still is there still are glitches and bugs in it that I'm finding, but it's like just really, the story is really fun, and I've probably put more hours into Cyberpunk than I have any other game on this list actually, and I've only been playing it for a few weeks.
Wow.
And the weird thing is I haven't noticed that time going either, because I'm playing a lot of the side quests in it, and each like side mission or each mission in the game is fairly like different and stuff, and like has its own story attached to it. So I feel like that's kind of helping the flow of it, and I'm not really noticing the time go, which is really cool, and it's still like drawing me back to it every day as well. Like, I'm playing it daily, so I don't know if at some point I'll get burned out of it and leave it for a while. Maybe I will. The one thing, like, there's not a lot to do in the city other than missions, which sucks.
Yeah, and that's a flawed game.
That's going back to what I was saying about cut content and stuff. So I'm hoping there's a big patch coming for it next year, along with the first bit of DLC, along with the next gen launch. So I'm hoping that they'll release a lot of like new stuff for it then or something. But
what's your favorite glitch that you've come across?
I mean, a lot of them have just been graphical glitches. I did come across one in a side quest where I was like bringing this guy to... he was basically going to kill someone, and he got out of the car and just stood there, and everybody was shooting him, and it was like it was scripted so that I was supposed to get out of the car too once he started attacking the guys, but because he didn't do anything, I couldn't get out of the car and I couldn't do anything, so I had to like reload the game, and then it worked. But there was another one where actually just yesterday I like was just driving down the street and I ran over someone by accident, but his like the NPC's ankle ankle got stuck to like under the underside of the car or something, and his ankle was so powerful it like flipped my car over. It was just bizarre shit like that. But luckily, like you can still enjoy the game. They're kind of few and far between, but there's definitely some underlying problems still there with it. But I think I do believe because now as well, you mentioned earlier that because of the sales, I think a lot more people have picked it up and started playing it, and it's got like really like positive reviews on Steam now, and people are enjoying it for the story and stuff. So I think down the line it will redeem itself. It's just a shame that it had such a shit launch, but so that's my 5 and 4. Steve, do you want to go for your 3 and 2?
No.
Yeah, just leave it.
But I will. But just because, so nicely. So my 3 and 2 are very small scale games that I suspect people might not have heard of before.
Ooh.
So my number 3 is a game called Demo Reborn.
Never heard of it.
Wow, okay.
Never heard of it, no? Yeah, I didn't think so. Very, very small scale game that I found myself really, really addicted to for a while. So it's a weird game. Very, very strange game. It's like a point and click game was spliced with a rhythm action game. Also, it's in VR, and also it's very Japanese.
Okay.
It's so the basic plot of it is you play this small girl who kind of falls down a well, and when she gets down there, there's this like there's a few. Well, first of all, there's a piano. There's this really tall, completely like black shadowy figure who's very friendly, and also this girl who like is wearing a mask and is implied to be like hideously scarred underneath. And basically, you need to play songs on the piano to make the tree that's attached to it grow, in order to make it grow tall enough so you can climb out of the well.
Okay.
So I know it's a weird game, and like the point and click aspect of it is you have to go into different rooms to kind of like solve puzzles to get sheet music to bring back to the piano so you can play the song. And then like the higher the tree goes, the more rooms open up as you can access more places. So it's a really good game. Like it really
interesting.
it surprised me how much I enjoyed it. Like, because first of all, the point and click, like the puzzles are excellent. There was not a single puzzle. There was one puzzle. There was one puzzle in the game that annoyed me, but with that one exception, like every single puzzle in the game was like a really charming, really well thought out, logical puzzle that I felt really smart for having figured out. And the gameplay, it's like it uses, the Move controllers?
Yeah.
So they basically control, like they're your hands in the piano part of it, and you just kind of have to move them in rhythm with like, it's kind of like Guitar Hero. You just kind of have to move them in sync that way to play the things. And some of the songs are really excellent. Like I learned so many new interesting like Japanese like rock bands and punk bands and pop bands, and really, really good ones. So I really loved it. The only issue I have with it, and what might put a lot of people off, is it's very twee. It's a very twee game.
Looking at the art style, it does seem like that. All right. Yeah.
What's twee mean?
Twee. Can you give us a Disney definition of twee there, Steve?
Kingdom Hearts, basically.
Okay, yeah.
No, like it's like, it's something that a lot of might appeal to like younger teenagers as opposed to like the older generation. Like, so it's a bit saccharine. I'm kind of like, this story is a bit too sweet for my liking, but if you can get past that, it's an excellent game, and I'd highly recommend it. So I think you can play it without VR as well. So yeah,
I was just looking at it there. You can get standard as well. Sick.
Yeah, it's quite good. Recommend that to anyone who's listening, like if you can get past the tweet thing. The second game, my number 2, is a game that Michael will know very well because I played it with him. It's actually a bit of a cheat. It's a trilogy. It was called We Were Here.
Oh, wow. Cool.
Yeah, so this is like, I think this was released this year. Like there's 3 games in this trilogy, and they're kind of like escape rooms. So the basic premises of it is there's 2 people trapped in this place, and you're in separate rooms, and one person generally has to like give information to the second person and get them to like solve a puzzle in that room. Like typical example was Oh God, I remember the one that caught us for ages. There was one where Michael was in this maze, and I was like directly above him, so I could see the entire maze from above, and I was telling him what direction to go in the maze. So like he'd be like walking in a certain direction, and there'd be an opening, and I'd be like, "No, don't go in that opening. Go to the next one. Turn right there." And it was really difficult because I was saying like, go down, and he was like, "Do you mean left?" Yes, sorry. So it was really good game, and like I think it's especially because of like quarantine and all that thing, and because like I'm here in Japan, it's a really good game to kind of just like have a chat with someone with. Like, I don't know about you, Michael, but I like love those. I thought they were excellent.
Yeah, and you're right about like you can have a chat because like the story is like whatever. It's pretty non-existent, and we talked over anything like that, really. But yeah, no, you're completely right. That whole, like, it's sort of like the Crystal Maze in a way, as in like there's one person directing and the other person, like you do need to coordinate a lot on it. So it's not like one person can just brute force the puzzle. Like you really need to think together, and like there's lots of, okay, Steve, I'm in a room and it has a pipe with a green thing, and it also has a plant over here with blue flowers. So what does your room have? Like lots of describing what's happening. And
yeah, it's like, I've got a book about like flowers. The blue flowers means this such and such a thing. Like, and it kind of leads that way. I'd say to anyone listening, if you enjoyed the 2-player mode of Portal 2, this would be a good game to do. It's kind of a similar vibe, but also different enough to kind of have its own spin.
Sick.
So yeah. Okay, throw it over to you there, Michael. What's your number 3?
So my number 3 is a smaller game, actually. It came out, I think, 2013, and it's called The Swapper.
I've played a bit of that.
I've played that. It's really good, yeah.
So this one, like, I got it on a whim because it was on sale, and I remember seeing it, like, for years, seeing it around because it would always be on sale, or it'd be part of, like, an indie bundle or the humble bundle or something like that. You'd see it around, and it was always on my radar, but I never really tried it. So I just played it on a whim, and maybe it's to do with expectations because I didn't really expect a lot going in, but like it's really a fantastic game, like really well put together. So the central mechanic is you can create several clones of yourself with like a gun that projects like an outline of you within the room, and you use that to solve various puzzles. The clones you make will mirror your actions. So if you make one up on a platform and then you walk backwards, it will fall off the platform because it's mirroring what you do. But they use that to make some really ingenious puzzles with other like complications put in it. But like you were saying before about Demo, like I do think a puzzle game, like they have to get the puzzles right. Like that's a very obvious thing to say, but there's a really fine line between something being too obvious, but then on the other hand, it can be infuriatingly obscure. And this
making you feel smart is the trick.
Yes, exactly. And making you feel like I must be the first person who ever solved this puzzle, you know? And it nails that aspect of it. Like there was only like 1 or 2 I got stuck on, but it has a very open sort of structure that if you get stuck on one room, you can just go to another part of the space station and tackle another puzzle and go down a different road. So that was really fun because I do get frustrated, and if I'm against a brick wall, I'll probably stop playing. So the fact that you could change your direction and go do another room was really good. And even beyond the puzzles, the atmosphere and aesthetic of the game was amazing. So something I didn't notice at first is that it's actually not made of 3D models. It's actually sort of a stop motion thing made of like clay and different materials. And it's not something that the game really immediately draws attention to at first. It's something you gradually begin to see as the game goes on. And it gives it a very like tactile and real sort of feeling to all the ship and the worlds, and it makes it feel like a real place weirdly in some ways, even though it's not like a photorealistic 3D game. And just the general atmosphere and mood of the space station is really good. It tackles some quite like intense themes in its plot as well. It sort of reminds me of Soma in some ways. It's about like consciousness and like if you like the whole cloning mechanic ties into that as well, because like once you use the clone gun the first time, that becomes like you're no longer in your original body anymore. You're from that point on a clone, and by the end you're probably like 100 times removed from your original self.
Did you finish the game?
I did, yeah. It also
Good ending,
has
right?
the ending has, I don't want to spoil it, but has a very interesting choice that you can make right at the end of the game, which I really liked and didn't see coming, because it's not that sort of game where you make choices throughout. It sort of just throws one at the end to you, and it's not one where it's explicitly said. It's very intuitive. You instantly know, okay, I can decide to do one thing or another thing here. Fantastic game, sort of hit me out of nowhere, and yeah, I'm really, really glad I got to play it. It's definitely one that I'll come back to in a few years once I've forgotten what all the puzzles are.
Awesome.
So my number 2 is I had 2 games which I knew going into this would be at the top of the list, and it was really, really hard to decide between the top 2. So, but I eventually forced myself after a night of drinking just to write it down on a piece of paper. So my number 2 is Nier Automata. Unbelievable game, so fantastic. Like everything we've talked about so far in these games is like they mix up like amazing gameplay with an amazing story, and this is like,
Does it have VR though?
It doesn't have VR, or maybe it does.
Well,
by now, I
then
don't
it
know.
doesn't have everything then, does it?
But it's like it's about sexy, melancholy robots. That's the elevator pitch.
Like Metal Gear Solid.
Yeah, almost. It's really hard to describe. Like, you really need to play it, but it throws so many different twists and turns at you throughout, and it's like really inventive in gameplay and story, because like you could be playing and it's got like a really fun combat system, like that feels really good. Like it's a platinum game, so it has that game feel, minute to minute thing down really well, with some like amazing boss fights. But then all of a sudden becomes a top-down arcade beat 'em up with the same controls, and then it switches and becomes like a bullet hell shooter, and it does all this really seamlessly as well. Like it literally does it within the same level or dungeon that you're playing. I've never seen another game do this apart from Nier Replicant, which I went and played this year as well. So that blows my mind. But what did you say?
Is that your number 1? Nier
No,
Replicant?
it isn't, unfortunately. Nier Replicant's good, but it didn't quite hit the heights of Automata for me. But also, like I was saying, the story, it's hard to talk about without spoiling, but it can just throw so many interesting things at you. The fact that like there's multiple false endings, the fact that you can be going through a mission and then all of a sudden it becomes like a text adventure and you're making decisions that way. Really interesting perspective on the teams in the game. And it takes a huge dump on the fourth wall as well. Like it does some very interesting things. You mentioned Metal Gear, and it does sort of remind me in that sort of a direct conversation with the player sort of aspect.
Wow.
Yeah, super fun. And like you can ignore all the like crazy, deep themes of the story and just have a fun hack and slash game as well that like is really fun to play. Yeah, that was like any other year, that would have been my number 1 game.
Sick.
So now, Sean, 3 and 2, hit me.
Let's have
What
a
we're
look.
waiting for. Stanley Parable.
No, so 3 and 2, yeah, they're games I've talked about before as well. Number 3 is Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order.
Nice.
My first Souls game, as you guys keep saying. Souls-like game, I guess. I really enjoyed this one, and it was one that I actually played for ages, left it down because I got stuck, came back to it, and it just all clicked, and I finished it. It was just a really, really fun, enjoyable third-person action adventure game, I guess. And I talked about before, I said it kind of mixed things from like platforming from Uncharted and stuff with combat from the Souls Souls games and stuff. The story was pretty decent as well as a standalone Star Wars story. Like, I'm not completely up to date with the Star Wars universe and stuff. Like, I know some things from like the older films and stuff, but I haven't seen all the new ones and stuff like that. But I think, if I'm correct, this is set like between 6 and 7, episode 6 and 7, I believe. But it's a completely standalone story, which takes place in like another part of the universe and stuff. with all new, well, mostly new characters and stuff as well.
I think it takes place alongside the Star Wars Holiday Special, isn't it?
Yeah, that canon, you know. You don't know the holiday special? Oh
No.
man, we got something to show you about.
What are you
it.
talking about? Are you serious? I thought it was a joke.
No, the Star Wars
No.
holiday special is a piece of history. Yeah.
Okay, cool. What, is it just a really like shit spin-off thing?
It's
or
like
something?
The Room, but Star Wars, basically.
Okay.
Yeah. Legendarily the worst spin-off in the history of like any film ever.
They tried to destroy all the copies of it, but it got through and it's on the internet now. Yeah.
Class. I can't wait to watch that. But yeah, no, it was just really good. I'd recommend anyone playing it, even if you're not a huge Star Wars fan. Like it's just a really good story. And yeah, I don't really know what else to say on it.
Do you think now that you've dipped your pinky into the Dark Souls well, do you think you'll go and play another, like a Dark Souls game or Bloodborne or Sekiro?
Sekiro I would really like to try out. I think one thing as well, like I think I tried playing Dark Souls before. One thing I didn't like about it was how kind of slow the movement was and stuff.
Yeah, Bloodborne or Sekiro might be.
Yeah,
more in line with what you want.
I've seen you play Sekiro and it looks sick, even though it's really hard. But I don't know. Yeah, maybe at some stage. Like I didn't go into Star Wars looking for a Souls-like experience. I just thought it looked really cool, to be honest, and I just wanted to try it out. But I did really enjoy the combat of it. Like that was one of the main things in it. And especially towards the end when you've kind of like got most of your abilities upgraded and or unlocked, it's like it's really fun. And yeah, so maybe I will try Sekiro at some stage and maybe Bloodborne or something.
I'd recommend them. Yeah,
cool.
Sick.
Yeah.
Number 2 was Resident Evil 7.
Oh wow! Cool.
yeah.
I actually just bought Village recently too, but I haven't played it yet. But 7, I've played like all the mainline entries. Except Village now. But I didn't get to play 7 when it released, but played it this year. Like smashed through it. It was brilliant. Like such a different experience.
It seemed a really brave direction for them to go in. I know PT had laid the groundworks and Amnesia and other games, but for them to take that franchise and go in this direction and it works so well is pretty cool. Like
such a different direction for him to go in, but it was like still felt like Resident Evil, which they did a brilliant job of that because, like, first of all, it was completely first person. It did link in with the overarching universe of Resident Evil, but very like they were hinted at it kind of. You know, it wasn't like loads of there wasn't like loads of clues around the game or anything that like, oh, this is like part of another research project or whatever. Like, you know, there was like 1 or 2 clues in the whole thing, I think, but. But it still felt really Resident Evil going through it. I couldn't call it anything else, you know?
Yeah, that's cool.
And I'm really excited to play 8 now to see, because that you play as Ethan Winters as well in that, so I'm really looking forward to seeing where the story goes with him, because he was actually like, even though it was first person, like he was a really cool character to play as well. But yeah, that's one of my... Well, I won't say too much on where it ranks, but for me, it's
up high.
It's definitely up high as one of my favorite Resident Evil games. Yeah.
Oh wow! Okay.
Really enjoyed it, and if you haven't played it, I'd recommend it.
It's too spoopy for me, I'm afraid.
I was expecting it to be. There were parts of it where you get that like dread in you, and you're like, oh fuck, I don't want to go down to the basement, like, you know. But there wasn't too many parts where I was like really freaked out. You know, maybe 1 or 2 during the game. It was really good, really really great game. Steve, your number 1.
Numero uno.
My number 1. He's ready. This is going to blow your minds.
The evil within.
No, this is going to be incredibly boring if you know me at all. My number 1 game is Dark Souls 3.
Oh wow! Okay,
Yeah,
I didn't expect that actually. Yeah, wow.
Nothing really new there at all. Like, I love Dark Souls. I only got around to playing Dark Souls 3 this year, and of course, I loved it. Like, it's a great game. I'm not going to say much on it at all because everything's been said already. The only thing I will say is it felt like slightly underwhelming compared to the first one. Like, cause like nothing will ever top, for me, nothing will ever top Demon Souls, which was my first, obviously. But like almost every single game since that has been a little worse. This being the only exception, because obviously it was following Dark Souls 2, which even though I liked a lot, I still think like it had some serious flaws. So like, yeah, very good game. It's definitely the best mechanically of all the Dark Souls games. It definitely works
Very
the best.
refined, I guess.
Yeah, the level design, however, I'd say is a little lazier. It's very straightforward. And one thing I didn't like in it is so every single Dark Souls game like kind of has, the first one obviously is the original. The second and the third one kind of tweaked the formula a little bit to kind of make it a little interesting. For the second one, what they did was they kind of plopped a bunch of enemies in each boss arena. So like so many multi-boss bosses. So like you'll have like, there's like 4, or like I think there was one. Yeah, one of them was like there was a gargoyle fight, and in the first one like there's 2 gargoyles, which was like hugely challenging. And the second one they were like, well, we'll give him 4 gargoyles this time.
It seems a bit lazy to do it that way. Yeah. And this one, I'm wondering, like, did I like this better or worse? Like, for this one, they didn't do that so much, but what they did do was they had multi-stage bosses. So, like, almost every single boss, you'd think you've beaten it, and then it's like, stage 2. Yeah.
And, like, some of them were just, like, so frustrating. Because, like, you know, it's one, like, you know, when you're going in, okay, I'm going to fight this boss. I lost. Okay, I'll come back, fight him again. Grand. And that's fine. But when you've got a boss with 3 stages and you already know you can beat the first one pretty easily, it's very frustrating. So, like, I know I'm shitting on a lot. It's still a Dark Souls game and it's amazing. If you haven't played a Dark Souls game, what the fuck, guys? But yeah, that's me. How about you there, Michael?
So my number one, like I was saying, there's 2 games, this one and Nier Automata, that I played that were vying for the top spot. But I went with this one because it definitely resonated with me a bit more and stuck in my head for longer. So my number one game
Resident Evil 7.
No, too spoopy. But no, my number one is Disco Elysium.
Ah, cool.
So
nice.
Yeah, it's just got amazing writing. Like, I think, like, to sum it up as succinctly as possible, like, it's just really, really well written. Like, there's so many unique characters that feel like real people but also feel like part of this fictional world. It's incredibly funny, and you like the relationships in it and the people you're working with, because it's centered around like a murder case and you're a detective. But the people you're interacting with and your partner and the other people, like, you genuinely feel some affection for them and you feel like there's a relationship forming between you and them. And that's like such an amazing feat for a game to ever do, because most of the time people with you are just like an annoying AI, you know, companion. But they knocked it out of the park. It's amazing. And like the roads it goes down and the fact that it's not afraid to be political, without it being a very superficial sort of, you know, like in Deus Ex, the way they had that really bad analogy about, augmented people are experiencing racism, and that's as far as they went with that team. It delves into this world and presents huge amounts of backstory and lore and history, really, for this fictional place, and it makes it so that when you finish the game you want to explore more. Like, they mention other parts of the city and other parts of the world, and you're like, I want to go there and I want to see the place and meet the people that are there. Beautiful art style, really fantastic soundtrack, actually, that goes in some unexpected directions as well. And it also, like, is like you were saying, you know, that, what game did you say was like a massage, Steve?
Stardew Valley.
Stardew Valley, yeah. You get this sort of feeling as well with this. Like, there are things you need to do and there is a sense of urgency in some ways, but it's also quite relaxing, and it's like a point and click game without the puzzles, you know, which seems like why would you even make that? But it's very addicting and very enthralling. even despite that. And the central mechanic is luck based as well. So you take a dice roll on decisions throughout the game, and it might be something really innocuous, or it might be something really important. But the genius thing is, when you fail these, it doesn't feel like, oh shit, go back, I'm going to reload my save, I need to get that. When you failed something in this, you're like, cool, this is bringing me down a different direction. This is a different fork in the road, and who knows what other interesting things this will lead to. So failure is not a negative in this game. It just leads you down somewhere else, which is a refreshing change for one of these games. But if I had to sum it up best, there's a moment early on where really it won my heart. So you wake up in this game, you start the game, and you know as much as the main character. The main character drank so much last night and is so hungover that he lost his memory. So he does not remember anything. He gets up, he doesn't know where his clothes are, he doesn't know who he is. He gradually gets back like the ability to speak and walk, goes down to his hotel lobby, and some guy comes up to you and says, oh, how's the murder investigation going, detective? And first of all, you're like, murder investigation? Detective? What? And then he's like, yeah, did you take the body down from the tree? And it's like, what? Like, I don't even remember my name, and you're asking me about this. So you go around, you look at the tree, and you get, like, you're so hungover, like you're really, really hungover. You don't know what's going on. Some guy's shouting at you to solve a fucking murder case, and you don't even remember your name. And some kid comes up and just starts like giving you abuse, calling you slurs, just being a real shit. And the game gives you one of those dice roll options, and the dice roll option is to punch the kid in the face. So I rolled the dice and I got it. It was a really small chance, but I got it. And there's this, the camera zooms down in, it goes slow motion for a second, and you just like deck the kid right in the face.
Jesus.
And then your partner's there and he's like, man, why did you hit that kid? And you turn around and say to him, I don't know how to explain this, but me hitting that kid is vital to me solving this case. So from then on, I was like, yes, this game has won my heart. I absolutely love it.
Your description of that has won me over. I want to play that so badly.
No, I recommend everyone playing it. It's a fantastic game. It's some of the best writing I've ever seen in a game. Yeah, really good one. So, Sean, drum roll, what's your number one?
The big one.
My number one is Metro Exodus. Which, I actually started playing Christmas last year, but I guess I completed it this year, so that's why I'm including it. I've kind of gone on about this one as well before, but it was just, I'm a huge fan of the Metro franchise, and this, like, they did this one so well, because it was a bit of a like, not a change in direction or anything like that, but it was a bit of a leap for them, because they were going outside of the metro for the first time, and the majority of the game takes place outside, which was always a cool thing to experience in the first two games. Like, there would have been times where you went to the surface and explored around outside, but it was always really hazardous there, and you couldn't spend like too long out there. But in this one, like, it's a journey across Russia from like Moscow all the way to Vladivostok in the east, and it really feels like just the journey aspect of it. Like, you feel like it's really immersive, is what I'm trying to say. And they just did the series like justice in how they each environment was, and the gameplay was still the same as you know and loved from the first two games. But yeah, they just did it in such a good way. I'm speaking babble here, but
no, yeah, I get you, because like, it's such a lot of games the past decade have tried to go open world with mixed results, and the fact that because like Metro was defined by its claustrophobic tunnels and stuff like that, and the fact that they did bring that sort of gritty, realistic combat and bring it to an open world setting is like really good.
Yeah, well, I mean, so it's open world in the sense it's still a linear game, but it kind of you go through different areas of Russia, and like then it gives you like a bit of an open world feel to go around, and then you move on to the next part. But like you're saying about, the claustrophobic feeling and the dread that you feel in the tunnels and stuff, they managed to like translate that to an open world and an outside environment really well. And you still feel really alone when you're going around exploring and stuff. And the fact that like it almost got to the point where in Last Light, the second game, like the tunnels were so familiar to everyone, and like even like everybody in the universe like knew the tunnels. They knew where to go, where they couldn't go, stuff like that. But now you're like exploring places that haven't been inhabited in decades, and you're seeing everything for the first time. Nothing's familiar to you as the character, like and yeah, they pulled it off really well, did a great job with it, and like the graphics are insane in that game as well. Yeah, so that was definitely number one for me. I was just like gripped to it for the whole thing. So yeah, it was brilliant.
Well, sick. Those are 3 stonkers, if I say so myself. That's a nice
15 stonkers.
15 home runs.
I can't believe we just listed 15um games there, but we did.
Thanks for listening to that, guys.
Yeah.
Well, that is it, guys.
Is anyone there?
Yeah, hello. We've talked about 2021 and all the games, and we're looking forward to the new year. We will have a new series of podcasts coming out next year, so look out for those. We had a little spoily for one of them. It's going to be about a Tony Hawk's game, but no, that's cool.
That wasn't you, that was me.
And yeah, we love you all. We hope you're wrapped up tight.
Have some eggnog for
do you know what's weird? I was about to mention eggnog as well,
Yeah.
but I've never drank eggnog.
Man, you don't like coffee, but Starbucks do an eggnog latte, which is sick.
That sounds disgusting.
It's actually very kind of cinnamony. I don't even really understand what eggnog is, but it's like cinnamony.
Have you ever had eggnog, Steve?
No, I've always wanted to try it, but I know I'll probably dislike it.
Yeah, I just don't like the fact that the name is eggnog. And both of those things don't seem like a drink I want to drink, to be honest. So, but hey, if Americans love it, it's got to be something good.
We should all get around, drink some eggnog and play Balan Wonderworld.
I think that's
and just like have one of those
Christmas 2022 plans sorted. Thanks for listening, guys, and we'll be back with the next one.
In
Merry
2022,
Christmas,
I guess. Is it?
That's the next year, yeah.
Yeah, we'll see you next
Unless
year.
we're really bad and getting nothing out in the entire year.
We're going to release this video in a year's time.
Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you all.
Merry Chrysler.
Slán
Bye.